Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. It is the 5th of July, 2019, still riding the 4th of July wave.
Pretty awesome.
All weekend long. I don't know if you guys had to work today. We are literally working all weekend long. It's amazing that we were able to come to you right now, but we are, and we're excited about today's show. I'm excited about Trump's salute to America yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to watch all the footage, it was amazing. The parade was amazing. Trump's speech was amazing, even though the prompter failed on him. It kept raining. He could barely see to read the prompter. He said it was difficult to read it because of the rain, and he kind of had to go impromptu because the prompter failed him. And then there was music at the end on PBS, like it is every year, with a huge amount of fireworks. And because of the rain, it was so smoky you could barely see the fireworks.
But we watched our little fireworks, and I thought they were pretty awesome. But like, I can't imagine what it would have been like, because they had like literally, I think they had like 6 or 7 across at every
big
shot.
Booms.
Boom.
And
boom,
the issue with
boom.
that is, with fireworks, you have smoke, and when you have such dampness in the air, the smoke has nowhere to go. And you could tell when watching the footage last night that the people that the cameramen and the angles that they had set up, they had to keep switching them because there was nowhere for the smoke to go, and you couldn't see the fireworks.
Right.
Now, there were hundreds of thousands of people that showed up. They went all the way back to the Washington Monument and then some.
The media predicted Trump's a small crowd. Now, okay, so Michelle was telling me was that PBS always does the thing, and that Washington D.C. always has fireworks.
Yeah,
Trump piggybacked that.
Yeah,
and they were so upset. Now, by the way, I have this hat on because somebody sent us 3 of these.
Who sent this? Let me show you the back of it.
They're pretty awesome.
The back of them says Growing America?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. And I told Patriot Gallery, this is actually like Kansas for President hats. You know, we always say Kansas for President, farms for everyone. So if Trump gets elected in 2020, then Kansas 2024. And these will be the hats. I think they'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so, of course, everybody had to poo-poo it. Bette Midler just tweeted out, hashtag you stupid fat F-U, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, everybody's just like, have you looked in the mirror yet, lady? Sometimes when you live in a glass house, you don't throw rocks.
Wow.
So you don't want to hashtag that kind of, don't call somebody fat when you have some.
Okay, but that's not even the point.
Issues.
It's just.
But no, I mean.
You just, when you're slinging mud, it literally becomes a mud fight. And it's not sophisticated. It's not intelligent. It's not American. Bernie Sanders didn't even wear red, white, and blue yesterday. He couldn't even wear like an America hat.
So yeah, the Trump speech.
They're anti-American people running for president. You do understand this?
Not about him, and the fact that, I mean, like, most Americans who, if they watched it, would be like, wow, that was.
He talked about the Wright brothers and rock and roll and landing on the moon, and I mean, he gave some Civil War stories and some Revolutionary War stories, and I think he even talked about George Washington Carver and Alexander Graham Bell and like all of these amazing accomplishments.
I think he botched Thomas Edison a little bit.
He talked about what makes America wonderful. What does he have?
He just, oh my gosh, so muddy.
Oh, geez. Yeah, we're babysitting our cousin's dog.
He's a good boy, but he is really muddy right now going up the stairs.
But it was an excellent apolitical speech.
Yeah.
You know, just like, let's talk about the country. There is one thing that I want to hit on, and I can either do it now or I can do it later. So today, when Trump was leaving the White House, and they were doing like the interview and press conference, and he's talking to everybody, and he's like, he keeps talking like about the military and how it's, you know, we really need more people to join the military because our job market is so great that nobody's wanting to join the military. And so as I'm watching this, I'm going, Trump, was the big show of all the military stuff like a recruitment process? So then he goes, after I thought that, he literally goes, and I think it was pretty good recruitment. It was really just, he literally says, it was really just a good recruitment. And I thought to myself, did you just say that out loud? Did you just play your hand? Because everybody that keeps saying that Trump was doing this for political reasons, I don't agree with that at all. He may have been trying to show a strong America, but what's wrong with that? There's literally nothing wrong with that. However, I do think that what is coming down the line, Trump wants to be prepared with a strong military, whether that's equipment or personnel. And I really do believe that when he just said it was really just a recruitment, that's Trump being honest and upfront with you guys and saying, listen, I'm recruiting American soldiers. And that's what yesterday was about. And I think that's why a lot of people were upset. That's why I just found that out today. Just literally right before we went live and I was watching him and I was like, I think this was a recruitment process.
Well, I don't know. I think that that's kind of a little bit too small of a thing. I think he really just wanted to make a good day because he wasn't really just talking about the military. There was a lot of other things about to make America great. The media ran headlines right up to the day of President Trump's July 4th speech predicting only a tiny crowd would show up, how spectacularly wrong they were. An independent article titled Trump Officials Fear Embarrassingly Tiny Crowd for 4th of July Speech was typical of the coverage. It was
That's
rainy.
embarrassing reporting.
In reality, the crowds were stretching way beyond the Washington Monument. You couldn't really, there was like no
Look
room.
at this! Tiny crowd! These are people! There are people. If you've never been to D.C., this continues on back there behind the Washington Monument. There are people back there. More people.
More of the people. Yeah, so, and it was really, really hot, and it was really, really rainy, and there was a lot of people, which didn't make it comfortable for the people who were there. They would have liked to have, people there would have liked it to be smaller crowds. Yeah. Then they could have gotten closer.
Most of the time, when you have rain, and you have heat, and you have ickiness, people go home. Mm-hmm. And the crowds are tiny. Now, this could have been devastating for Trump's big to-do, except for it wasn't. Why? Because the people that support America and the people that support Donald Trump are die hard.
So that's what I want to kind of point out, because to me, I never would have thought to go to Washington, D.C. for this. First of all, I would have thought there's going to be way too many people.
That would be my first and foremost.
But one of our girlfriends who've been on InfoWars now, Twitter friends, Charlie K, she got on a plane. She went. She said it was hot. There were so many crowds. And it was really wet, and but
did she say it was worth it?
I think so, but it was just uncomfortable. You know what it's like when you're just uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. Well, I was watching Right Side Broadcasting, and they kept apologizing for their appearance because they're like, it is just so hot and so sweaty, and it's been a really long day.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see, a webcam at the National Mall was abruptly shut down without notice and been removed. Let's see, I don't know what that's all about.
Oh, probably so that they wouldn't show that there were actually massive crowds. That picture doesn't lie. and none of the mainstream media outlets, whether it's a newspaper or on cable news, are going to show that picture.
So he was saying there weren't anybody people. We're about ready to relive Trump's inauguration. But what this guy was unaware of is it's silly to judge the size of a crowd hours before an event starts.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it was amazing because, again, I was watching Right Side Broadcasting, and where they had their camera on the podium, there was no one there, like, right up until 15, 20 minutes before Trump was scheduled to speak, which it got postponed.
And then we have the Trump baby blimp here.
Except for they missed a step. Hang on, though. They missed a step in there. They got the permission to have it, but they forgot to get the permission to actually fly it, so it had to stay grounded. Mm-hmm. That was an oops. Oops. Yeah. Oops. Gotta have permission to fly it.
But I love that Russian TV actually mocked Donald Trump. Russian TV media has joined U.S. Democrats in dissing President Trump's 4th of July celebration as low energy with rusty tanks. I think it's hilarious. Russian state TV is obsessively bashing Trump's low energy weak parade with rusty tanks.
Oh my
gosh. The hosts laugh at Trump's claim about Revolutionary War airports and other historical flubs. There's your city on a hill. There's your world leader. And Martians have been defeated. Because he said we're going to go to Mars.
Yeah. He said we're going to plant an American flag on Mars.
But I think that's the best thing that Russia could have done for Trump.
Yeah. We're not in cahoots with him. Watch us bash his 4th of July speech.
Right.
Did you just yawn? It's very valid why she yawned. It's, we're getting no sleep right now. You all should be thankful, and I never ever say that we are actually here with you today, and we may not be here with you next Friday.
So we had the U.S. Navy flight demonstration squadron, the Blue Angels fly past Lincoln Memorial, and somebody else was this lefty guy here. This is exactly what Putin wanted Trump to do today: fly some Blue Angels. Really? Are you kidding me? So, whatever.
They will always take any opportunity to spin it to fake news.
They just jealous. You want to know why? Because Melania Trump defied the 4th of July rain in rainbow style.
No, she didn't wear those stilettos.
She wears them all day, every day.
Isn't she amazing?
This outfit. Now, somebody said this on Twitter, and I want to know why. Why aren't retailers making knockoffs of all of her dresses that she's wearing and selling them retail? So we could all have the millennial dresses.
That is an excellent idea.
She looks stunning. They are always very tasteful.
Yeah.
They're very slenderizing. Mm-hmm. They're very feminine. And it was just, when she walks out, and she's not overt. Like, for a model, she doesn't show off anything. Yeah. She's very conservative in the way she dresses. And she just looks sharp. You know what I mean? She just looks sharp.
Move out the way,
and
Jackie. There's jealous. A new first lady in town.
I just think they're jealous. Honestly. Jealous. They're just jealous. Okay. All right. So it's been a little while since we've been on. Oh, here's another picture. Despite the left's best attempt to destroying a salute to America, the place is packed. I don't know, Michelle, if while I kind of talked about Colin Kaepernick, if you want to find any of the videos that shows the flyovers or anything, you want to show any parts of his speech.
Okay.
We do want to see, while we have you here, what the Donald, oh my gosh. We have obtained exclusive footage of Carpe Duncum's and real Donald Trump's now infamous meeting. So he was invited. By the way. Oh, thank goodness.
That is so great.
It was the happiest moment of my life.
Oh my gosh,
that was so funny. Really, oh my gosh, yeah. So the guy who makes a lot of those really good Trump memes, he posted a video and he's like, here's my spot. And he's like right up there. He was invited. He was invited by the real Donald Trump.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
So we want to go. Now is a time where we look at Trump's. We do silly songs with Larry. We do silly tweets with Trump. No, just kidding. All right. So happy birthday to our great United States Secret Service. That was he just tweeted out half an hour ago. A record millions of people employed. Yay for them. I want people self-employed. Jobs, 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 jobs. Okay, so he tweets this out 18 hours ago. He retweeted Jack Posobiec. See, this is what I love to do, because what I love to look through Trump's timeline of what he tweets and who he tweets, because then I know who has his ear. And that's kind of like really interesting to me. So he tweets out Jack Posobiec, which says, amazing Trump address, and only Onan covered the full day. And then he says, tweet about Antifa, Donald Trump.
Can you just say One American News Network instead of I don't think it's pronounced Onan.
Whatever. Wow, Randy Quaid. So okay, here we have Independence Day star. I know, right?
Yeah.
Aliens. Mm-hmm. He was adopted by aliens. Maybe he's been.
I've been saying it.
Ain't I been saying it, Ernie?
Oh my god.
Ain't I been saying? We say that all the time, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Ain't I been saying it?
I love that movie. I grew up on that movie. I've probably seen that movie 200 times.
We will not go silently into the night.
We will not vanish without a fight. We're gonna live on. We're gonna something.
So Donald Trump tweeting out Randy Quaid. Wow, rousing, great speech, great air show, great bands, the great pilots, the great timing of the speech with the flyovers. We are all so blessed to be Americans. Happy Independence Day, everybody.
Okay, so I will go over here to these little flyovers really quick, since Randy Quaid talked about them. Here, there's your piece right there.
As far as the fireworks go, Phantom Fireworks actually donated $750,000 of fireworks.
All right, here we go.
Oh, I'm proud.
There's an
Hey, do you
ad.
think Trump colluded with Russia?
Oh, yay, ads.
Yeah, do you think Trump colluded with Russia?
I think this was an excellent.
It wasn't overdone. We were all thinking like hundreds of tanks. There was 2 tanks, man.
Yeah.
This is probably why Russia was like, tanks. It was not in the right. There were some airplanes. Right. It wasn't like a bunch.
Well, what I liked about it was with the air show, they had them coming in waves. It wasn't just like pause the whole speech for an air show. He would say something, and then there would be, more planes that came through. So, yeah, I think it's really, really awesome. And the thing that gets me about the critics of Trump with the tanks or the airplanes or what have you, I'm thinking to myself, when else do we get to fly these things for Americans? I mean, and when do the pilots ever get to do something for all of America? I kind of consider this, in my humble opinion, kind of a slap in the face at our servicemen and women, because I'm like, wait a minute. Shouldn't they be allowed to show off and fly and do an homage for the American people? I mean, how is that equaling Trump turning something political,
right,
to allow America to pause and appreciate our armed forces?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
So he tweets out, Ari Fleischer, I don't care about your politics, what your politics are. This tribute to our military on America's Independence Day is beautiful and inspiring. Years ago, I went to a July 4th celebration in a field in Indiana where concerts were held. They asked veterans of each military branch to stand as they played the anthem of each service. Then they asked everyone to stand as they play the national anthem, God Bless America. Trump tweeted out Mark Thiessen, who says, this is a great speech. All those making a fuss about it look increasingly ridiculous with every passing minute. Looking back from the Lincoln Memorial to the crowd along both sides of the reflecting pool. Do you want to tell them your story about your thanking a veteran?
Yeah. Hang on. I'm sharing this on Facebook because we are still unable to stream on
Have we
Facebook.
gotten any response from
I have
them?
not gotten a response from Facebook. It might take a little while. So I just wanted to share this with our YouTube viewers or our Facebook followers.
So I know you can't see them very well, but you can get the idea of just like boom, 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 like lots of booms. Just look, I mean, like seriously, when Trump asked to like make it big, like this is like huge.
Well, and the fact that Phantom Fireworks donated these, I think, is a really big deal.
You will never see a display like this ever, like this, as many as went off.
And I would imagine that they went so high in the air that, like, anywhere in DC, you'd probably be able to see these fireworks. It was really, really amazing.
Yeah.
And imagine what you would have actually seen had the smoke been able to dissipate a little bit easier.
I was just thinking of how neat it would have been to be there.
So did you guys get a chance to watch our own firework display from our little town that we went to on Wednesday evening on the 3rd? I know a lot of you did. It's had more views than our shows actually normally get, which I'm really glad about. But after we signed off with you guys, probably, 45 seconds later, we had climbed some stairs, headed back to our car, and we were at the lower end of a hillside. So we climbed these stairs to get to the top of a street where we walk all the time. We grew up there. We used to sled ride down that hill. Okay, I mean, this is our hometown. And at the top, I saw this very, very tiny old man with one of his rolling walkers, and he was crossing the street. I'm sure his car and his family who was with him was parked right there so that he wouldn't have to travel very far. And he was kind of going really, really slow, just looking down, watching his feet, even though there's a crowd of people like kind of crossing in front of him, and he's just going slow. And I noticed that he had on his Navy service hat. And so I often thank veterans when I see them. You know, if they're not wearing a hat or some sort of distinguishing, you can't, unless you are introduced to somebody, in which case I told my friends, I said, I do this because it's 70% selfish of me because of the intense joy that I get by thanking them. And because I mean it, the very safety of our country. And I always take it back to our founding fathers, who were the first Americans to put their lives. I know she's upset about my thing.
Nails. You show your nails.
They're red, white, and blue. Who laid down their lives for our country and for everyone else, right? And so to me, it's really important to, and I didn't always do this growing up. This is kind of a new thing that I've been doing, relatively new speaking, considering my age. And so I just stopped him, and I knew that he was probably going to be hard of hearing. So I kind of had to get into his bubble and touch him to make sure that he heard me. And I wanted him to be able to read my lips. And so I touched his arm, and I just said, thank you for your service. And it was so, I've said this to so many people, but his reaction really blew me away. He was looking down like this, and he kind of paused for a second, and I thought maybe he hadn't heard me, and I thought, I'm going to have to say this again. And he looks up at me, and he just, like, his whole face lights up, and he says, you're welcome. And he said it, and I get goosebumps all over again. Just the way that he said it was in a manner that said, like you would if you had really sacrificed something. Like if you had given someone a car or something. Like let's say you had like a $30,000 car and you knew somebody needed it, and you just decided, you know what? I'm going to give this person this car. And that person recognizes, oh my gosh, you have just given me something, and you're welcome. It's not just, hey, you're welcome, or you're welcome. You know, you're welcome. He was like, literally, you recognize this massive sacrifice that I made. And it was a gift, almost more of a sacrifice. His you're welcome was a gift back to me. And it was one of the most incredible exchanges, a very quick exchange. And I kind of rubbed his arm and I left. And it was just, I don't think either of us expected to have had that moment with each other.
So says, Michelle, 20 years ago, we had people in the UK start saying that we had to start dissing our armed forces and our flag.
Wow.
Or anything patriotic because of the BNP or the National Front thugs hijacking our identity.
That was because the leftist view and the political agenda was in the same as the USA, is what they're going through now. So what happened 20 years ago? I mean, roughly 20 years ago. It was before 9/11, but you're kind of leading into this warmongering and
well, I'm sure he was talking about right after 9/11, but yeah.
And all this stuff. You just kind of see an explosion of, you know what? Poo-poo the military, poo-poo.
Yeah, and same with like
Vietnam all over again. So it was, anyway, it was really, really special.
So I'm going to play this.
Part of one of the greatest stories ever told, the story of America. It is the epic tale of a great nation whose people have risked everything for
It's an angel
they
mom.
know is right.
Sorry, we're mute.
On this day, 243 years ago, our founding fathers pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to declare independence and defend our God-given rights. As we will never forget that we are Americans and the future belongs to us. The spirit of American independence will never fade, never fail, but will reign forever and ever and ever.
They did this in front of the Lincoln Memorial, by the way.
Have a glorious Independence Day. Have a great 4th of July.
That's so cool. You know, yesterday, and we were really busy because of what we do for a living, all day long, just super busy. But I found throughout the day, and we had patriotic music playing, and we had, this playing when we could around the house, and Lee and I were in and out all day long. But so many times I paused, and I was overcome with emotion, and I wanted to cry because I love our country so much. And I feel more patriotic now than I ever have in my entire life. Like, I'm a history buff, okay? Out of all the subjects in school, history was my favorite. And I think it was because I was so inspired by our founding fathers. Just learning about the revolution, to me, was such an amazing thing. And so that's kind of what spearheaded my passion for those kinds of things. But even so, I think that, and maybe Leah, you felt the same thing, and maybe you guys are feeling the same thing as well, that we are more patriotic as a nation than we have ever been in probably like 100 years. I mean, it really feels like
base is rising, and I really think that it's like a volcano that is getting
we're
ready
so
to...
sick of being suppressed.
Ready to... I got goosebumps all over me. It is the volcano that's getting ready to burst. What Donald Trump did, despite whatever recruitment, whatever, what he did to get all those people there, to get people talking about America, to get people bringing us back to America is not an evil country.
Yeah.
I will fight you tooth and nail about the truth because there's so much disinformation out there about the founding of this country. And in a minute, I'm going to play a little clip here from Steven Crowder, who absolutely is hilarious. And watching David Barton try to roll with Steven Crowder's jokes.
I thought Barton did. I've just finished the second one this morning. I've watched the first two.
He did good.
He did amazing.
I would like a lot of times I would have been like just like kind of like what, man?
So there was a part where he gives him, and I wish I had an axe here, and I don't.
Well, he's wearing these short shorts.
I know, where he gives him. I think he must have gotten too hot for his costume, and he's got his like what boxer shorts from louderwithcrowder.com on underneath. And so he must have taken his pants off. So he does the whole episode in this jacket and no pants that say Louder with Crowder on his shorts. And so at one point, they were like talking about weaponry. And Barton gives him this hatchet.
Yeah.
And he says, and so then Crowder says a joke like, we use this to hatch off, whatever's, my shorts or whatever. And Barton goes, yeah, whatever's left of them since, and it was just their whole banter back and forth. I just loved it. It was so fun.
Right. But our history is being rewritten. And when I talked about, I've known that since the censorship in 2016, it's been really awful. It's been really uncomfortable. We're going to talk about Tommy Robinson, who has been convicted of 3 counts. He is going to be sentenced next week, possibly going to jail. There could be something good out of it because he did serve time, so they could sentence him to time served. That would be fantastic. That would be fair, at least semi-fair. But he's facing 2 years in jail. So just keep him in your prayers.
Well, and he's also only being given, I think, like 10. I don't know how many days. He's going on the 11th, so less than a week. To prepare, I forget how Tommy worded it in his email here, but to prepare a statement for the pre-sentencing statement, and he said that like rapists and serial killers are given like 4 weeks or 40 days or whatever to prepare this, and he's only being given like from now until the 11th, I guess is when it is, and so it's totally unheard of. It is. It's really, really sad. So we're going to talk more about that on Sunday.
My point is that there's been a lot of suppression, but and this is what my mom has said. See, we have felt this kind of thing happening and churning for years. And the one thing my mom always said was, this is going to be a non-violent revolution.
Yeah. God
is doing this. God is moving on the hearts of the people, because our government, the cool thing about it, the reason we celebrate 1776 is because they gave us our Constitution, and as Michelle pointed out, that somebody else said, they gave us something amazing, a self-correcting government. I got goosebumps.
It was a guy on Fox News about the Betsy Ross thing.
Right. So what John Adams had said was that a woman came up to him and said, what kind of government do we have? A democracy? Or theocracy or monarchy? What do we got? And he said, we're giving you a republic if you can keep it.
Right.
Okay, because a republic can only be sustained when people are religious and moral within themselves, because you have so many freedoms. You have the freedom. I have goosebumps all over me. You have the freedom to bear arms.
Yeah. Right?
But when you're a Christian and you're moral, you're not going to go shooting people.
Well, and I really highly encourage you guys to watch the Crowder thing. But Barton said something really awesome, was that you have these rights, but you also have the responsibility that goes with them.
Exactly. So you have,
and they knew that when they framed it.
You have God-given rights, but you have God-given responsibilities. And I talk about this all the times, but John Adams said that without religion and morality in this country, the Constitution will be ripped to shreds like a whale that goes through a net. Because the Constitution is designed for people who are basically going to be doing the right things. So you have a basic framework, but basically the Constitution and our Declaration and our Bill of Rights and even our state's constitutions were all designed to give people as much freedom as humanly possible so that you could live out your God-given natural rights to farm, to have your own business without somebody coming and taking it away from you, to have your own home without property taxes and things like that, so that you wouldn't need township rules to maintain your lawn, because as a good Christian, you'd maintain it. But now we have to have, so the less Christian you are, the less more, and it's Christianity, bar none.
Right.
When listen, Christianity is turn the other cheek. Do unto those as you would want to be treated. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. You can have tremendous amount of freedoms when you teach children. That's why the devil gets in there to separate. You can't have religion. You can't have religion because you need to.
You're fine. Roll with it.
To control. The leftists and the devil want to control people. They don't want you to be self-correcting. They don't want you, I made a mistake. I'm going to go to Jesus and I'm going to go to that person and I'm going to make it right. No, you have to have laws. You have to have laws about, you have to have noise ordinances. You have to have lawn mowing ordinances. You have to have traffic lights. Did horses have stop signs? I don't think so. Right? So you have to have all these rules, the less religion, and I mean by religion, I mean by relationship with Jesus Christ, where you wake up every day and you try to amend your ways. These people have not read the works of like a Benjamin Franklin, who spent his life. He wrote a book on how to be a better person, how to get vices out of your life.
Yeah,
literally, right? Some guy came to him and said, I don't think I want to get married. I think I want to just take a mistress. And Benjamin Franklin's like, no, bad idea. Okay? So our founding fathers, the reason they have to muddy them, the reason they have to destroy their reputation, the reason they have to say things like, well, they were slave owners and blah, blah, blah. 41, Barton points out, 41 of the signers were slave owners, but almost all of them would have agreed to have it annihilated. There was only, I believe, only 2 or 3 colonies that wouldn't sign on to the Declaration when Jefferson put in there. One of the things he said, the King of England will not allow us to abolish slavery. That was one of the grievances. He couldn't get, I think it was 2 or 3 of the colonies to sign on, and so they actually thought that slavery would be abolished by 1808.
Yeah,
they thought it would be totally, once they got the country on their feet, then we could begin to abolish slavery. It's sad that it took till 1865.
Well, and I'll tell you another thing that is sad.
And I'll tell you why let me just tell you why that was real quick.
Good.
A lot of people, and Barton talks about this with Stephen Crowdy, about the three-fifths clause. That is actually an abolitionist, once again, pro-freedom clause. Oh, the Constitution says a black man's only worth 3/5. No, and I'll tell you this 100 times. The southern states wanted to count their slaves, much like the Democrats want to count illegal immigrants, but they wanted to count their slaves to get the more people that you had in your district, the more representatives you would have.
Right.
And so,
I can guarantee you that these slave owners were not going to let their slaves
they couldn't
vote.
They couldn't vote. They weren't being represented. So the 3/5 compromise was the North said, no, they're not being represented. You're not letting them vote. So the 3/5 compromise cut the slave representatives down by 40%.
So if they had not done that, then the slave-owning states would have had far more power to maintain their slavery.
Exactly.
So it's it's a vicious cycle.
3/5 clause was an abolitionist clause.
So when you look at the UK, and I don't remember what year it was with William Wilberforce that they got.
It was 100 years before us. So
they got,
it wasn't quite 100 years before.
But it hadn't quite come into play because we weren't able to have, freed slaves here in 1776.
Right, yeah.
All right. And so I look at the Democrats of today, and they're thinking of, well, since Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin and John Adams and, all these guys, right, couldn't get those one or two states to join with them, they're actually saying we would rather
you still be
under colonial rule and part of the United Kingdom and so forth than to have a free America. Right. It doesn't make any sense what they're saying because they had slavery there too.
Right. Exactly. Speaking of bad history, this Donald Trump retweeted this out. Communists burn American flag near the White House on Independence Day and near, I believe, a Secret Service member.
America was never great.
America was never great.
So then you see the MAGA person literally bare hand picking up a burning flag and picking it up off the ground. Don't let the flag touch the ground. That takes some guts. Wow.
And I love that Donald Trump tweeted that out.
There is nothing that he will not tweet out.
What a great celebration. I'm in tears and proud bringing a Navy brat. Artwork by Dinesh D'Souza.
I love that Trump tweeted that out, though, because that's hilarious to me.
I love my life. Oh my gosh. The world is going to just blow up.
So Charlie Kirk also just interviewed Nigel Farage, which I haven't watched yet, but I'm looking forward to. Candace Owens did as well.
By the way, I'm just going to do a little thing here. Because Donald Trump tweeted about Justin Amash. Supposedly, he was part of the Freedom Caucus. But little do you know that he's actually of Palestinian descent and actually hates Israel and hates Donald Trump. And I really think that why he hates Donald Trump is because they put the embassy in Jerusalem.
Is he like an infiltrator?
I think he is. I think he is. I think he's very anti-Jew and I think he's very anti-Israel. And he left the GOP. He left the Republican Party. Donald Trump
riddance.
He says, great news for the Republican Party as one of the dumbest and most disloyal men in Congress is quitting the party. No collusion, no obstruction. Knew he couldn't get the nomination to run again in the great state of Michigan. Already being challenged for his seat. A total loser.
He's being challenged for his seat by a veteran who's very well spoken, and I like him a lot, and I hope he wins.
All right, so we're going to move on from our salute to America.
Which was so great, and you guys can watch reruns all day long of it and be proud to be an American in so doing. Or proud to be friends with Americans if you're watching us overseas.
All right, so, Michelle, tell them your newest purchase.
Okay, so I actually went and bought a Betsy Ross flag.
13 original colonies.
Yeah, so I actually love this flag. I think we all do. When we look at it,
guess who else loves it? Barack Obama.
Yeah, it was at his 2008 inauguration or something.
It was at his inauguration.
When we look at it, all we see is the founding of America. Well, apparently, the founding of America is now racist. Our entire foundation, every building block, every person, every abolitionist in history is now a racist. Every black one, every white one, every red one, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you're in our history, you are a racist, and nothing from our history can now be displayed.
All right, so if you guys didn't know this, Collar Stinking Kaepernick, the little guy with fro, I think he's half black, he's half white, he was raised by a white family. He's a commie. He wears socks with pig cops on them. He loves Che Guevara. He is a Castro fan.
Have you seen the memes going around that say R.I.P. Nike with the date of birth and date of death, and then they said it dies of colon cancer?
Oh my gosh. No, I haven't seen that. All right, so Colin Kaepernick. He tweeted out this thing, and he contacted Nike because Nike was going to put together some shoes. Where are them shoes? They're on the front of the thing. Nike shoes. We're going to talk about the Nike shoes.
I can pull them up. If you want.
Show them the Nike shoes. Well, because the Nike shoes were going to have this flag on the back, the Betsy Ross flag. Now, before I go any further, Betsy Ross was a Quaker, a devout Quaker, and Quakers were anti-war, but they were more than anti-war. They were abolitionists, all of them. They were the ones who were running these underground railroads, and he obviously is horrible at history, and obviously there is not a historian amongst the Nike executives. Somebody would have raised their hand and said, no, Betsy Ross was an abolitionist. I think this is a good flag to have.
Okay, so
you literally, there's no difference between the Betsy Ross flag and the rest.
What is this flag?
What do you mean? As the stars were added.
The progression. Okay, yeah. So there's the different progressions of flags that we've had.
Adding the states.
So what's wrong with that, though? How can that be?
Barack Obama thought it was great.
Racist.
This is a photograph from the 2013 inauguration of former President Barack Obama, which should put to rest the sudden claims from some of the Betsy Ross American flag as racist dog whistle. The debate arose when former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick objected to the presence of the Betsy Ross Revolutionary-era design of the American flag on a specialty shoe from Nike to be sold ahead of the 4th of July holiday. And I actually kind of like those shoes. They're kind of cool. Better than some of their other ones they sell for like $400, the Thug shoes. The shoe was recalled and its sale canceled by the shoe company, causing an online uproar among those defending the historical flag. Others on the left argued that the use by some white supremacist groups of the flag had turned it into a symbol of racist segregation and oppression.
No, because no one has ever used that flag as a racist flag.
On Wednesday, supporters of the Betsy Ross flag began posting photographs of Obama's inauguration, including the supposedly offensive design. So it literally just became offensive now, but Barack Obama is a black.
But here's the deal. Even if the most deplorable of a person uses something, let's take the rainbow for an example. I love the rainbow. It's a promise that God will never, flood or destroy the earth in the same manner ever again. It's a beautiful, beautiful symbol, okay? Mm-hmm. But if you're not a homosexual and you wear the rainbow, then all of a sudden I have an umbrella. It's a rainbow umbrella.
Are you suddenly not gay?
And now I'm like, when I use it, I kind of think to myself, I wonder if people think I'm gay. Oh, well. But I do have to think that. And it's disturbing to me that I have to think that. But I have to get over that. I'm still going to use the rainbow because I like it. So if there are vile people, even if there are vile people using this flag or the American flag or a blue sky or green grass amongst their whatever that they're peddling, doesn't mean that you all of a sudden can't use it. And what is this? I probably can't even flash it here. I'm going to get told I'm a white supremacist, but the OK sign now. You're told you can't use that or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm like, okay, so if I want to use the OK sign, then somebody's going to come back later and say, oh, Michelle, is that whatever it even means? I don't know what it is. But I'm like, are you serious?
Colin Kaepernick did not like the design of a patriotic sneaker, and the footwear company nixed it. The company now under fire. Jared Max is here with the whole story. Hey, Jared.
Good morning, Dagan. The Nike Air Max 1 USA was created to celebrate our country's independence, but the sneaker will not be sold to the public. The sneakers were shipped to retailers, but then they were told to return them. The heel of the shoe features the Betsy Ross flag, 13 white stars in a circle.
What are they going to do
for
with
the
the shoes?
13
Burn
U.S.
them?
colonies designed during the American
What
Revolution.
a waste.
When former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick saw
Give
an
them
image
away.
of the sneaker online, he contacted Nike. Made the face of a Nike ad campaign last year, Kaepernick, according to the Wall Street Journal, told Nike officials that he and others find the Betsy Ross flag an offensive symbol connected to slavery. Kaepernick, who transitioned from football player to activist, last played in 2016, initially was thought to be a dangerous choice by many for the Nike campaign, but since its launch, Nike sales have jumped. Great demand in the U.S. and China. Sales are up 4% in last year's fourth quarter to $10.8 billion, and this year the stock is up more than 15%. A Nike spokeswoman says that Nike has chosen to not release the Air Max 1 Quick Strike 4th of July as it featured an old version of an American flag. Some sneakers made it to the black market and now are a hot item. And NFL executive vice president.
And we needed to get back to the love and the joy
So
of football,
pause it right there.
which is really what.
Let me tell you something. So those sneakers, some of them have sold for upwards of $2,000. Now, whether Leah agrees with me on this or not, I'm 100% right. Colin Kaepernick was hired by Nike for advertising, to make sales. So if anybody thinks that this isn't a stunt by Nike, who had Colin Kaepernick come and say, hey, you shouldn't use this, and then all of a sudden, who's talking about Nike? You, me, and everybody and their mother and their brother and every media outlet. It's called free advertisement. It's the most genius thing that they could have ever done. It doesn't matter. You're like, what's going to happen to those shoes? They don't care what happens to those shoes. Okay, they'll leak them to the black market and they'll sell them for, whatever amount of money.
Right.
They'll make their money. This was an advertisement stunt that they did. Colin Kaepernick represents their advertisement. If you think that his doing this with Nike was not in cahoots and pre-planned from day one, you're living under a rock.
That could be true.
So I want to point out this flag. It's traditionally called the Betsy Ross flag. Has 13 white stars on it. It was created during the American Revolution. Jack Brewer, what do you make of this?
This is America. These are the conversations we need to finally have. The reason why Colin Kaepernick stands against a flag like that is the same reason why I would not wear that flag on my feet. I wouldn't wear a Confederate flag. I live in Florida. When I drive through Central Florida, you still see the Confederate flags flying. That is the America that we live. Hold on. Let me finish. You have to understand that the American flag does not have 3 stars around it, right?
It's 13.
If you read 13 stars, I'm sorry. If you listen to the Star Spangled Banner that was written at the time that this flag
only had 13 colonies, son!
Right? It talked about protecting everybody except for the slaves that were running away, okay? So that represents a bad part of America for a lot of people. If I was Nike, I would put a modern day flag where all Americans have rights and everyone can stand
just
up, albeit
stars
July,
representing the
and
different
take a
colonies
Wisconsin,
as they
lighting
became
off fireworks,
states.
celebrating the best
So
country on
horrible
earth.
with history
But
these people are.
This flag has no place in my house, on my feet, and I don't want to see it.
But Colin Kaepernick is essentially running Nike, is he not?
No.
They're putting more and more of their right.
During that time of the
American Revolution.
Even worse, Dagan.
Leah's hoping for some sound-minded argument here.
1770s.
In the 1770s, a black person was not even didn't even equal a
let me
person
ask you this,
during that time in American history.
But again, the Wall Street Journal goes into this. The flag's use is not that widespread. There have been some accusations that this flag has been appropriated by extremist groups, white supremacists. But if all people don't feel that way, is this really that risky a move for Nike to put this shoe out? And by the way, it is out and it's selling. There was one pair that went for $2,000. Sneaker exchanges.
If you wore the shoe, right?
Okay.
It's not the same thing as the Confederate flag, okay?
These people weren't fighting for slavery, and this is unfortunately
a rewriting of history.
Unfortunately, I want to sit down with that guy and I'm going to point at him and say, you went to public school where they brainwashed you with this hatred to your country,
and the
so
founding
that you
of your
don't
country.
know the ideas that Jefferson, George Washington. We have George Washington on the Battle of Potomac on the ship. I always look at it when I'm doing the show. That man fought and died to lay the foundations of this country to end slavery, so people like you would be free. Okay, he should have been dead, and he went and fought for people like you. Okay, Jefferson tried to free slaves. All right, Betsy Ross went to. Here's the thing. Without that flag, you probably would still be a slave. And that's how ignorant you are, because if you don't see that as the foundation of freedoms, and I thank God that I know how to read, because obviously this man does not. And the rest of the population who goes to public schools, they don't know how to read, and they don't know how to use Google, and they don't know where to go for the information. I'm going to tell you where to go. Go and read source documents. Go to Wall Builders. I have spent hours of my life reading their writings, and there's a book I got on the shelf here, the Thoughts of Thomas Jefferson, where he talks about the evils of slavery. John Quincy Adams, he said that he talked with his father, John Adams, and all of the men of that time, and they said, we are going to end slavery, but first we have to throw off England, which is making us have slavery here, okay? first off, and then we can get rid of slavery. The birth of freedom is in that flag. And the fact that nobody on that panel knows that, they all should be fired from stinking Fox News because they have stupid talking heads who don't know anything about history. And I just want to go and reach in and say, read a book. Okay? Go read source documents, you little talking heads. That woman was just grasping at straws because she knew absolutely nothing about history. Because she probably doesn't even read books that don't have pictures.
Time out. Breathe.
You know what? I need a break. We're gonna watch David Barton, who's a lot calmer than me.
Yeah.
Talk about something.
Let me ask you this. This is something we hear a lot about Young Turks and MSNBC, CNN. It's sort of accepted as a truism, the Southern strategy. So yeah, Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. And if you look back then, Republicans, obviously, they were the ones about freeing the slaves. And if you look at even the Civil Rights Act, but there was a Southern strategy where it swapped. What do you say to that?
Well, it certainly was not that way for the first more than a century.
Right.
I mean, if I take a piece like this is a hit card for the Klan. This shows, and the lynching's a big deal for the Klan. So they have given you now
it's kind of their raison d'etre when you really think of it.
Yeah. Thank you. 63 names here that need to be taken care of. 63 names. These are all Republican members of the legislature. There are 50 blacks. There are 13 whites. Now, people say, wait a minute, they didn't lynch whites. Yeah, there were 4,800 lynchings. And the 4,800 lynchings that happened with those 4,800 lynchings, 1,300 were white, 3,500 were black. The lynchings were Republicans. Now, the deal was just about any...
White Republicans?
White Republicans. You couldn't lynch any white because some might be Democrats. But blacks, that's a different thing.
Right.
So you could go at it that way. And so what you find is when you look after, once the 13th and 14th Amendment were passed, you could elect blacks to office in the South. And in states like Louisiana, states like South Carolina, Mississippi, you had more blacks than you did whites. So what happens is, for example, the first 137 blacks elected in Louisiana were all Republicans.
Right.
The first 41 blacks in Texas, the first 190 blacks in South Carolina, the first 99 in Alabama, 112 in Mississippi, etc. So the switching of parties, no, blacks were strong Republicans at that point in time. And they say, well, you know, that started changing in the 60s, the Southern strategy. Strom Thurmond. All right, Strom Thurmond was a Democrat, no question. He ran against Harry Truman because Harry Truman did some really good civil rights stuff, helped desegregate the military. He would not kowtow to the Democrats in his party that were racist, so they ran a Democrat against him, Strom Thurmond, the Dixiecrat Party. So Strom Thurmond runs as a Southern Democrat against
iffy.
You know, Harry Truman. I mean, he is from a southern state, a border state. He was raised in a racist atmosphere, but he did the right thing with helping civil rights. And so Strom Thurmond is a Democrat. Well, Strom Thurmond became a Republican. He sure did. He became a Republican because he changed his philosophy, because he became the first Senate Republican from the South to hire blacks onto his staff as major positions. And so it's not Democrats that did that. It was a Republican who did that. He left the Democrat Party because of their positions. So when they point to Strom Thurmond, you've also got to look at the fact that he also changed his policy positions, and he was no longer...
He became less racist.
He became less racist, and actually he tried to break through the barrier. He had a lot of education, a lot of...
Well, you know, I think we're going to do a whole installment because you have so much here on black history. So before we do that...
But before we do that, here's what I say. For those who say in the South, I say, okay, let's assume you're right. Let's assume that Democrats switched to the Republican Party. I'm going to take any southern state in the 70s, 80s, 90s. You're going to have 1,000 people elected to office every election. You're going to have your local people, your county people, your others. And it was called the Solid Democrat South for a reason, because Democrats not. So I want you to find me any 10 offices in the South where the Democrats became Republicans and got elected. You just show me 10 out of 1,000. Nobody's shown me more than 2 or 3. Well, you got Strom Thurmond and you got David Duke, and David Duke went back to the Democrat Party. They can show me 2 or 3.
Right.
Show me, if you're saying that the thing, you got to show me a majority, otherwise your premise doesn't hold up. Yeah. You can't even show me 10 out of 1,000. So this is what people repeat without thinking about it, and there's certainly not evidence enough to prove that it was a shift, what they call the Southern strategy.
So the Republican Party is still the party of Lincoln?
Yes, I don't think they know that, because I don't think they know what Lincoln believed, and I don't think they knew what the original platform. This happens to be the original Republican platform. That's the very first one. There's only 9 planks in the platform. 7 of the 9 deal with civil rights, equality, making all people equal, equality in pay, etc. That's the original Republican platform, and I'll bet you Republicans have no clue.
And I bet you, just like, because the idea in the 1900s, and you guys can go back, maybe, I don't know, if you can search some of our videos where we talk about public education, and I've just put a little bit of tidbit in here for you to understand, because I've done a whole show on it, that you had communists, you had people, bad people, you had, in addition to communists, you had the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation. They wanted a nation of workers and not a nation of thinkers.
Right.
They didn't want the entrepreneurial spirit that was in America. They wanted people who could run their factories. So when Donald Trump says, hey, we created the assembly line, I want to say,
that was in his
pretty
speech
much
yesterday.
shot everybody in the foot
Right.
with that one, because Rockefeller and Ford wanted people who weren't thinking, because if you were thinking, then you were free, and you wouldn't be like a Chinese person just putting parts on. And I believe if you're going to have vehicles, if you're going to have anything built like that, then it should be small base business where you receive the reward for your business. And if Ford wants to build cars, then he gets on and he's on that assembly line and he's building those cars himself.
So when anyone tries to tell you from a capitalistic standpoint that capitalism is fantastic, the assembly line is great, and rah, 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 you need to understand something.
The individual
Just
in America
like
is more
the
important
European
than
Union
stuff.
was a regurgitated version of Nazism and communism, so is that capitalistic mindset of the assembly line a regurgitated system of slavery. Slavery didn't work the first time because then everybody recognized that we were treating these people as less than human. So what we have to do, and they literally sat down and they wrote these things down. They made guidelines and they said, let's make sure that these people are a slave is just a person that does physical work for you and you control them.
Right.
We have an American society and a worldwide society.
Isn't it great that now slaves have to house themselves?
Yeah.
And pay for their own medical care?
And they are taught to believe that they are free in their minds. And they're
taught that it's a gift, that these jobs are given to them.
Exactly. So
oh
we
my
still
gosh.
have a regurgitated form of
and
slavery.
And then we have a tax code.
And Ford, Carnegie, and Rockefeller are the ones that put this into place.
A tax code and rules and laws that are specifically designed for big corporations who can hire an accountant who does that full time. Yep. And a lot of people don't start their own business because of the taxes and because of the paperwork. Right. That's why most people don't start their own business.
Right. So it was never about the color of skin. It was never for the actual slave owners.
Right.
It wasn't about the color of skin. There were white slaves. There have been white slaves from the beginning of time.
Black people
started out as white slaves. Black people sold their own. It's not about race. That was an excuse, like Hitler having an excuse that Jews were less than human. Okay? It was just an excuse. They just wanted workers, and they got them, and most of us are part of that system.
Right. You're right.
We are living in a slave society. So when I hear Trump say something like, we invented the assembly line, I'm like, yeah, and slavery. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, this is regurgitated slavery all over again. And what better than to not limit it to black people, but to everybody. Right. Every race, every creed, every doctrine, every gender, every age.
Exactly.
We got them all.
So Colin Kaepernick shared a video in addition to this that talked about, like, a 1-minute video about how, you know, slavery and blah, 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 racism, blah, 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 blah. And Ted Cruz tweeted out, let me see, where are you, Teddy? Here's Ted. You quote a mighty and historic speech by great. I'm not going to play this.
The Frederick Douglass speech.
No, I'm not going to play Colin Kaepernick's thing.
Okay.
But he was quoting Frederick Douglass, but out of context. You quote a mighty and historic speech by the great abolitionist Frederick Douglass, but without context, many readers will misunderstand. 2 critical points. This speech was given in 1852 before the Civil War, when the abomination of slavery still existed. Thanks to Douglass and so many other heroes, we ended that grotesque evil and have made enormous strides to protecting the civil rights of everybody. Douglass was not anti-American. He was rightly and passionately anti-slavery. Indeed, he concluded the speech as follows. Allow me to say in conclusion, notwithstanding the dark picture I have this day presented on the state of the nation, I do not despair of this country. There are forces in operation which must inevitably work the downfall of slavery. The arm of the Lord is not shortened, and the doom of slavery is certain. I therefore leave off where I began, with hope, while drawing encouragement from the Declaration of Independence, the greatest principles it contains, and the genius of American institutions. My spirit is cheered by the obvious tendencies of the age. So read his entire quote, and when he talks about the Constitution, see, a lot of abolitionists and a lot of people were angry, and they wanted to abolish the Constitution because they believed that it upheld slavery. So Frederick Douglass sat down and he read the Constitution, and he said, this doesn't support slavery, this is anti-slavery. See, our founding fathers were smart, and they were not just smart, they were led by the Holy Spirit, because our government, the Declaration of Independence was for the freedom of everyone. And the Constitution was for the freedom of everyone. Okay? And within it are so many clauses that give everybody freedom, regardless of race. And like Michelle said, self-correcting government is what we have, and it's pretty awesome, and it's pretty powerful. But you have the left getting so angry at Americans and so angry at Donald Trump people. Somebody
turn it down before you press play.
I saw that.
Maybe turn your volume down here, and then if you have to turn it up, it's better to turn it up than down.
Somebody went into a restaurant in D.C. with a MAGA hat on, and some D.C. person said, "Are you from D.C.?" He says, "No." Well, we're not racist here. Well, that person who said that actually got kicked out of the restaurant, so the MAGA hat person got to stay. But that's the kind of thing people experience. This is a man in America's shirt is headbutted by some sort of Antifa person.
Antifa has gone off the chain. I can't even really tell what's going on here, to be perfectly honest. It just looks like a mob of people from both sides. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, he got headbutted, and so the police came and arrested him. Or he headbutted somebody. So, yeah. Craziness. Craziness. That was Ted Cruz on Kaepernick. That's not coming up, because that's not awesome. I do want to talk about Trump's census question. Yeah. Because it's pretty crazy. I think I talked about it before. And I know I'm sharing this. Trump botches citizen question with too much lawyering, too little explanation, and I have to agree. The one thing I think Trump has always been open, but the media seem to hammer him, so he's been pulling back a lot with what he says, like with the tech censorship and stuff, so he's not playing his hand to see if that works. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but Trump wants to include "Are you a citizen?" on the census, and the Supreme Court ruled that he couldn't, but that he could come back with a better argument to why you would want it on there. And this person writes this article and says, "Oh my gosh, Trump and your lawyers are trying the hard way to get something done that should be so incredibly easy. This is just incredibly easy because it's been on the census for the Obama administration was the first in 190 years to not ask a question related to citizenship, naturalization, or your native land. Thomas Jefferson said, we need to know how many people here are actual citizens or how many people are just recently immigrated. From 2009 to 2016, Obama did ask the standard citizenship question on all 8 of his annual American community surveys, each of which reached a similar changing sample between 2.9 million and 3.5 million, and did the all-encompassing 2010 census of all 309 million individuals in America. Is this person a citizen of the United States? Yes, born in the United States. Skip. Yes, born in Puerto Rico. Yes, no, not a U.S. citizen. It was on Obama. So you just hit, hey, Supreme Court, was it wrong for Obama to do it? Then you go back and you look at the rest of them. 2000 census. As I understand it, in 1950, the Census Bureau switched to sending out 2 census forms, the long form and the short form. The Heritage Foundation legal scholar says the long form went out to 1 in 6 households, and only these 16.7% of Americans received the citizenship question. The Obama administration decided to drop the long-form questionnaire last used in 2000 under President Bill Clinton and limited the citizen question to the this American community thing. So here is the 1990 census. Yes, is this person a citizen of the United States? Okay, 1980 census. Is this person a naturalized citizen of the United States? Yes, not a citizen born abroad of American parents. When did this person come to the United States to stay? That's something that everybody should know. That's part of the census of America, to know, are you here as an immigrant? Are you a citizen? If you're not a citizen, then we don't count your... And here's the thing. You can... They say it's racist or something like that to ask the question, and it would keep people from answering the survey. But here's the thing. You can be in America and not be a citizen and be here legally.
Right.
I can go to France and be there... You know, stay there.
Well, it boils down to votes, and it boils down to representatives, and that's why the left doesn't want this question to be asked. So in places like
California, where there's a lot more illegal immigrants,
they can get more representatives for having illegal, just people, okay? Mm-hmm. These are the body of people that have responded. Well, if we don't know if you are a citizen or not, then you automatically get counted as a body. And the more bodies there are, the more representatives there are. And so now we go back to the 3/5 clause, okay, and you have it all over again because these people are going to just vote the way that they are told.
Right. So here's the 1880 census. Place of birth of this person, naming state or territory. Place of birth of the father of this person. Place of birth of the mother.
Well, and in addition to, I just said they'll vote the way that they're told. A, if they're voting, they're illegally voting. B, they get more representatives, just like I talked about with the 3/5 clause. And if they get more representatives, then they can actually keep their slavery. When Trump tried to talk about what's going on in California and the homeless crisis and so on and so forth, and gun violence in all of these Democrat socialist little mini countries we call states, he gets maligned and ridiculed. Well, if you have more representatives thinking like that, you're going to have more homeless people. You're going to have more problems because they don't know how to run their little state, their little country.
All the Trump administration needed to do would be that it intended to restore on the 2020 census would have been standard practice for what would have been by then 200 years. No more would have needed to be said. And then overly, you have all these overly lawyerly things.
Well, hopefully somebody has gotten that message to him.
I don't know.
But they've gone ahead and started printing the census without the question. And Trump is considering an executive order because they have to print out millions and millions and millions of these forms and distribute them.
We do have a crisis at the border. And AOC was like a holdout on sending like $300 billion down there for facilities, better facilities to hold the people and stuff like that. But she has accused Border Patrol of harming people, of making people drink out of toilets. So, what did the Border Patrol do? They made a video response to AOC.
I love this so much. I have not seen this.
My name is Roy Villarreal. I am the Chief Agent for the Tucson Border Patrol Sector. Today is July 3rd. My goal today is to dispel some of the misinformation that's out there in regards to our detention facilities. So come on.
I gotta make you small, buddy. Unless you want to play it. It's on Twitter.
No, you've already got it going. It's fine. They can see it. It's big.
This is a supply room that is typical in every one of the stations in Tucson sector. What we have supplies of are diapers, baby wipes, clothing for children marked by gender, age, clothing for men and women. We've got supplies. These are feminine hygiene products that are readily available for any of the detainees. Now come with me as we go into one of our detention cells.
Remember, these people are trying to get in our country illegally. What are you supposed to do? Oh, hi, welcome. We don't have a border.
What is a supply cart that is available to families and unaccompanied children. What it includes: baby formula, crackers, raisins, tuna fish, mylar blankets. Here's one of the other aspects There's a lot of misinformation that we're not allowing people to brush their teeth. This is a toothbrush that is preloaded with toothpaste, and it's provided to everyone and readily available should they want more than one. Now let's look at the biggest misinformation inside. I'm going to sell it. Aliens are not forced to drink out of the toilet. Aliens have options. There's fresh water that's provided on a regular basis in a water cooler. There's also water that is provided in this is a combination of a toilet, a sink, and the sink provides fresh water. The wall is marked as agua potable, which is potable water. There's nothing wrong with this water.
This is embarrassing.
We're not forcing aliens to drink out of the toilet. Ladies and gentlemen, as the men and women of the United States Border Patrol continue to safeguard our nation, I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July. Thank you.
I'm so glad that he did that. That is really, really important. And you know what? It's a detention cell. And I'm sorry, AOC, that they're not being put up in lush hotel rooms.
Right.
Like you would want them to be. Here, you've come. AOC, I would like to see you try to enter any other country illegally.
Right.
And see where they put you.
Exactly.
And you'll be standing out there with your big fancy watch that you claim came from your daddy. That's what she said about that fancy watch, by the way. Leah, that's not standing up properly. And demand that they put you up in a hotel for free. Okay? When actually their argument and her argument is that they should just release everybody on their own recognizance and just let them free into the United States. We shouldn't even have detention centers. That's their actual argument. That anybody that wants to cross over the border should be allowed to come in. So when they say there's a crisis at the border, they are saying the border should be completely open. We should not detain anyone, and they should be free to come into this country because, quote unquote, we are the land of the free and the home of the brave. Now, I love that Trump talked about this today, and he said, listen, we can only take so many people. And when you have people that have been waiting in line, they've learned the language, they've learned the history of the nation, and then you've got an illegal that comes and jumps in front of the person that's doing it all correctly, it's wrong. And it's unfair. And it shouldn't be allowed. And yeah, we have to detain people because guess what? Not everybody coming in, even if we could house everybody, even if America could take in every person that ever wanted to come in here, not everyone that's going to come in here is going to be a good person. Not a non-criminal, a non-gang member. So we have to have detention centers to assess these things. You know, they're asking for asylum and refugee status and so on and so forth. They're economic migrants.
Yeah.
We can only take in refugees. Okay? And a refugee, the definition of that is somebody that's fleeing from political or religious prosecution in their country.
So I want to play this. This is what they call Gold Star Mom, whose son has given their life for our country, and what the flag means to her son's friends and in the military still, and how disrespectful this Kaepernick guy is, and how disrespectful Nike is.
When I look at this country today, and I tell people, and I've wanted to say this loud so many times, Colin Kaepernick was getting paid $14 million a year to throw a ball. My son died for $14,000 a year. And he's given more than any football player, any athlete has ever given. And this day, still sending kids to college off of $1,000 from our little hometown that people give. These two children right here can look at a flag and say, that's Uncle Jacob. That's what we're here for today. Not because, I wanted to be a Gold Star mom. I got gold stars in school for making grades. but this gold star that I wear every day isn't for me. It's because of what my son chose to do without my permission. Trust me. And I have a 17-year-old that is doing the same thing, and it's because of what they believed. And I hear these Marines that come to my house and stay for 4 days. You know, I got 30 Marines that sleep on my floor, and it's great, but they tell us that the only thing that kept them going is when they could look up and see that flag. They had hope to go back home to, and I hope that this country was going to change for the better, not for the worse.
Wow.
Exactly. So here is the time when we do, I call it commercial break, when it's something that doesn't have to do with anything else. So Thomas Massey says the secret selective service, you know, that is a draft, should delete their account. Some people don't want to register because they think laws and government suck. I'm quoting the selective service people. But truth be told, failure to register is punishable by a fine of up to $250,000 and imprisonment up to 5 years. Also, failure to register results in a lifetime of denied benefits. Now, I am 101,000,000% against the draft. And we've talked about this. We've talked about this on our show. We talked about this when it really hit home when we were at that memorial. That you guys haven't seen that. It was a local memorial where a local man from Milford was drafted. Oh, around the Cincinnati area. The memorials in Milford. Was drafted into the U.S. Army. And 2 months after he was sent overseas, he was killed. So literally, when you talk about the draft, you literally have somebody say, you go die.
Yeah.
You go die. Just die. They're literally taking your life from you. They're killing you. And military service or anything that is death, that they could result in death should always be voluntary.
Yeah.
If we can't enter into war, we don't have enough military, stinks to be us.
Well, and the difference is that when I was watching David Barton, he talked about with the Second Amendment and this regulated militia that anybody that was, I think, 16 to 45,
14 to 45,
14 to 45, they actually had to be armed.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't have to, they weren't told what they had to do with that being armed. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's quite the same thing as being drafted into, but you had to be armed. You had to be ready.
A militia was voluntary, but everybody was part of the militia.
Right.
But when you join the army...
And you had to have these specific things, you know.
You call up the militia and you hope that people come and join you, but they can leave. You can leave the militia. You can't leave a draft. So that's my commercial break there. It's so stupid.
I didn't even know that account existed. I didn't even know the selective service was a thing.
I know.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so this is really, really, really gross.
Oh, no, you're not gonna, I can't. I have to leave for this segment.
There's a thing going around where people are licking things. One absolutely out gay guy goes and drinks Listerine, swishes it, and puts it back on the shelf. But I want to discourage you from doing this because this woman who did this, this chick here who licked the Bluebell ice cream,
No.
And she could face 20 years in prison. 20 years. So
I'm terrified of this. Like, I'm absolutely terrified now. I never want to buy another thing.
Police in Texas said Friday that they found the girl who was filmed licking a tub of ice cream and returning it to the grocery store shelf in a viral video last week. The girl who admitted to licking the top of the Bluebell ice cream is under 17, which makes her juvenile. So
These kids are crazy.
She's from San Antonio.
Well, that explains it.
It's been seen 11 million times. So we'll see.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I can't.
Well, before the police knew the girl's identity, they said she could face second-degree felony charge of tampering with a consumer product, which comes a 2 to 20 year prison term and up to $10,000 fine. But now she's a juvenile.
Now, you said
she
to me
is at the discretion of the juvenile system.
The other day that this is not a one-off.
I said that
these people are, there are people out there that think that this is funny, like kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's not funny because all y'all got herpes. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Cold sores. Get transferred. It's nasty.
Oh, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing.
That's not anything against people that are like that. I'm just saying, if you got that, you got to keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
It's a danger.
So please
You make cupcakes. You're not allowed to lick your fingers
away.
and make icing and stuff like that when you got that stuff. You can give that away.
Yeah.
Ugh. Ugh.
This is just, I'm going to share this because now, if you have kids in the room, she drops a lot of F-bombs.
Are you serious?
But this is former Disney child star Bella Thorne. She was molested from the age of 6 to 14, abused all the time. And this whole thread by John Doe lists all the different Disney employees, including an executive, who were caught molesting children or with child porn.
Wow.
This is a very long thread. This is an ex-Disney actor charged with 6 counts of underage sex, 13-year-old, Disney exec arrested in underage online sex sweep. Despite being convicted in October 2004 of sexually abusing a Nickelodeon child actor, Brian Peck was hired by Disney in 2006 to work with this kids show, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Wow. So why they hired him back? Because they are all about it. Now, somebody else says Zac Efron, Lindsay Lohan, and all these other people, they all struggle with like mental addictions and drug abuse and mental health issues.
And you should ask yourself why.
Ex-Disney cruise officer, I was ordered not to report molestation.
Security officer.
Oh, security officer. It says ex-Disney cruise officer.
Okay, well, it was a security officer on probably one of those cruise ships.
So, anyways, there's a long link, and I want to play this because we've all like kind of joked about since we were kids that Disney was like pedophile molestation, but like if you were a pedophile, not if you were a pedophile, but
where would a pedophile go?
Where would a pedophile go?
They become teachers. They become
place
priests.
on
They
earth.
go to places where children
Pedophiles are overly obsessed with children.
Right. Mom says that talking about pedophiles got us kicked off a Facebook live stream last time.
Great. Well, maybe I won't play her video then.
Well, I don't see how this one could be. I mean...
Well, she's a Disney star.
Well, we didn't get kicked off of YouTube for it.
It's like anything in my life. I mean, if you read the book, you'll be like, transitioning from Disney into this was fucking easy. I don't know. Getting molested for fucking from your 6 to your 14 seems like way harder
That's gonna make her small.
Or being physically abused all the time seems like a much more difficult situation than fucking have paparazzi following you since you were 12. I don't know. I was still being molested when paparazzi were still fucking following me. So it's pretty hard in my mind to think about these big flashlight photographs and everyone thinking they know me and talking about me, but having no idea the type of mistreatment that I was still dealing with at that time, that everyone around me saw and did nothing. So I don't know. You tell me what's so hard. Because that to me, way harder than any other of this other shit that I do on a daily basis.
Somebody just said goosebumps.
Yeah, so...
Wow. I don't even know who this chick is, but my heart goes out to her because that is really, really horrible.
In 2014, CNN reported at least 35 Disney employees have been arrested since 2006 and accused of sex crimes involving children, trying to meet a minor for sex or for possession of child pornography, resulting in 32 convictions. I, for one, when you think about some of the other places that kids go, Disney is like the main place for, like, in my opinion, pedophiles. I have never had a desire to go to Disney World. I don't want to go. It's way too expensive. And I don't encourage a lot of boycotts. I'm not burning my Nike shoes right now because I can't afford to go buy more shoes. But I don't buy them for the symbol, right?
Well, I think that's the difference.
Yeah. And, but boycotting Disney is something I can easily do.
Well, not really, though, because we still watch their movies. Like, we're not going to see Star Wars.
Well, no. What I mean by boycotting Disney is the place mostly because that's where the danger is for your kids.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah.
But I mean, really, in all honesty, even though I jokingly say we're not going to not go see Star Wars, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand with, I kind of wish I could say this in a way that makes sense, because we stream using online stuff, but I dislike electricity and automobiles, and I wish we could go back to, and I'm hoping that we go back to a time. Speaking of which, and I want to just throw this out there very, very, very quickly. I want you guys to go to Lynette Zhang and watch one of her latest streams, and I'll try to remember to put it in the description, on the other shoe dropping. And that is this. I know a lot of you in the chat, when I bring it up and I tell you to buy gold and silver, you're like, I can't afford to buy gold and silver. Well, whatever. Okay, I'm sorry if you can't. But
everybody can afford silver.
If you have anything in savings at all, this is for you. All right? Whether it's a 401k or whatever, pull it now. You need to have, it's happening. It is going to happen. Lynette Zhang says, I don't ever put my neck on the line out there and say, this is definite, this is imminent, this is whatever.
The bubble's popping now. Is this the one?
Let's see. 2 days ago, yeah, probably. You guys, if your money's in the stock market or even in cash, get it out now.
Now fallen. Rapid interest rate spreads between the lower rates and the higher rates are indicating that either the recession is now imminent, I mean immediately imminent, or it may have already begun. And that's what we're going to look at today.
So they can watch the rest of it, because we're on a time crunch. We have doggies that need to be let out, and so on and so forth.
So I want to play this because I think it's funny. Before we go.
Okay.
Senior moment. Biden proclaims the Russian meddling wouldn't have happened under his and Barack's watch.
Thank you. Maia put that in there. Maia's awesome.
So.
Oh, no.
The first speech stood up. The chancellor, the former chancellor of Germany, stands up. She says, we have to go it alone. We can't count on the United States. Why did we set up NATO, Chris? So no one nation could abuse the power in the region, in Europe, that would suck us in the way they did in World War I and World War II. It's being crushed. Look at what's happening with Putin. While Putin is trying to undo our elections, he is undoing elections in Europe. Look what's happened in Hungary. Look what's happened in Poland. Look what's happened in Moldova. Look what's happening.
It's great
You
stuff.
think it would have happened on my watch or Barack's watch? You can't answer that, but I promise you it wouldn't have. And it didn't.
So with North Korea, the idea of reaching out, President Obama, Vice President Biden wanted to do more than that. The Republicans used to whack you on the head. You can't be nice.
So Biden's comments are particularly intriguing, as many, including President Trump, have questioned why the Obama administration didn't do anything about the Russian interference prior to 2016.
You know what else I love about Biden? His latest campaign slogan is that if we allow, like, if Trump gets 4 years, you know, there will be some bad things that happen to the country. But if he gets a total of 8 years, he will, like, fundamentally change America for, like, ever. That's, like, irreversible. And I'm like, 4 more years. 4 more years. It's like the best selling point that he could. It's like giving it away. Like, hey, great, gonna vote for Trump. He's gonna change the country, and it's never gonna be able to be changed back.
That is really funny.
And Mom says, hey, what is happening in Poland and Hungary? We have a populist movement. And so what he's saying is we would never allow those Hungarians that love their own country to rise. We would never allow those Polish people who love Poland to rise. We would keep them suppressed and keep them in the global, not market, but society.
Globalist.
Like, they can't have their own voice. We would keep them into that regurgitated Nazi communist party called the European Union. So we want to sing some songs. Maybe 1, 2.
Yeah.
And then we really do need to go. Happy 4th of July weekend. I hope you guys had a blast. I hope that your pups weren't too scared by all of the firecrackers going off last night. I hope you guys got a chance to see some going off. And I hope that you have been able to grab a hold of the amazing American patriotic spirit that is spreading like a wildfire in this country. And that's why the left is so scared.
Yeah. How about America the Beautiful?
Okay.
Now, a little bit of history on this. America the Beautiful was inspired by the view of it from the top of Pikes Peak in Colorado. This version features all 4 verses. In the summer of 1893, poet Catherine Lee Bates was teaching English in Colorado College in Colorado Springs. Later, she remembered, one day, some of the other teachers and I decided to go on a trip to the 14,000-foot Pikes Peak. We hired a prairie wagon. Near the top, we had to leave the wagon and go the rest of the way on mules. I was very tired, but when I saw the view, I felt great joy. All the wonder of America seemed displayed there with the sea-like expanse. On the pinnacle of the mountain, a poem started to come to her, and she wrote the words down, returning to her hotel. The poem was first published with the names Pikes Peak in the Independence Day edition of the church periodical The Congregationalist in 1895. Over the years, several existing pieces of music were adapted to the poem. A hymn tune composed by church organist, the choir master Samuel A. Ward in 1882 was the first to put this to America the Beautiful. So.
You're going to start it.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Go ahead.
You take your turn.
Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet, whose stern in passion stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful, for heroes prove in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success bring nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood Fantastic. Now, Maia suggested Cookie Cutter Princess, and if we were not on a time crunch for puppies, we would definitely do that, but that would require the guitar and moving of the camera and so on and so forth, but that's an excellent suggestion. I had wanted to sing some other patriotic songs, but we went over on our news, so I hope that you're okay with news versus songs. I'm going to open up this card from Lori. So we got a mail call here because I figured it was for the 4th of July, and I'm right. She says, have a very happy 4th of July, and thanks so much for helping to save our nation by getting the truth out to the world. Best wishes, and God bless, Lori Dice. Thank you very much for that, Lori, and I hope that you all had a wonderful 4th of July. And Leah is right behind me looking up an extra song. I can already tell.
Yeah. I don't know, I guess, the rest of it.
I have Mine Eyes Have Seen the Glory.
Well, let's
Battle
probably
Hymn.
do that one. I was going to do God Bless America, but I don't know the other verses. I didn't know there was other verses.
I don't know either.
Me neither. I didn't know there's more. How come I don't know this?
Okay, so we'll just have to wait unless you want to sing something else.
I need to learn the rest of the lyrics. Oh, yeah, I do. But it's snow from the mountains to the prairies.
Mm-hmm.
Through the ocean. How does the beginning start? While storm clouds gather? Nobody knows that part.
No clue.
God. I don't know which I started. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
I wonder if it's sung like From the Mountains. While the storm clouds they gather, I can make it up, from across the sea. No, that's not how it goes. There's got to be something else. So, Britt Boz says, Michelle and Leah, in case you missed it, go watch Ann Whitcomb in First EU Speech. She's a corker.
Solid is good. Was played on Sunday.
All right, so come back and be with us for our European and UK news.
1 o'clock.
1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. I'm excited about Sunday's show. We're going to talk about Tommy and a whole lot of other things. But I want you guys to have a safe rest of the weekend. We've got Friday night fireworks. We've got Saturday night fireworks. We don't want anybody to lose any of their digits.
I think
or
people
face,
are wanting to just
or so on and so forth.
They're just really excited. There are a lot of patriotic
Just
people.
barbecue something, okay? And just be very, very, very careful, okay? It's the same thing with chainsaws. Our mower guy says doctors hate chainsaw things because there's nothing to stitch up. Well, it's the same thing with fireworks, okay? So it's better to like cut a finger off clean and then, but blowing it up, it's very difficult.
On that note, we have a P.O. Box.
107 Milford, Ohio, 45150. If you send us your letters like Lori did, we will read them on air. We want to hear from you guys.
Thanks for that.
Yes, thank you to whoever anonymously sent the Make Our Farmers Great Again hats. I love them so much. I was going to wear mine today, but I really wanted to do more patriotic.
I know.
Green, not so patriotic.
You know what I like about the green? I can wear it out in public and I'm not afraid.
Yeah, right.
It's not that I'm afraid, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Be cautious. I be cautious where I wear.
So Patriot Gallery will be streaming this. I have no idea when, but you can check out Resistance Chicks YouTube channel for that. Like I said, we still can't stream on Facebook, but God knows.
Oh my word.
We love you. God loves you. God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory. If it's actually the truth. Have a wonderful evening, guys.
Sweet home.
I was cold all alone. No place for home every day. So afraid, but you called my name.